Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to take up additional reference of business and request that the Secretary General be directed to read the titles of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as communications and committee reports.
An objection? Hearing none, the Secretary General is hereby directed to read the titles of bills on first reading, as well as resolutions and committee reports.
Additional reference of business. Bills on first reading. House Bill number 9019, an act providing greater protection to local industries through the imposition of anti-dumping duty, amending for the purpose Section 301, Part 2, Title 2, Book 1 of the Tariff and Customs Codes of the Philippines, as amended by RA 8752, by Representative Odocado.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 9020, establishing the Limbanan Caves Protected Landscape in the province of Camarines Sur as protected area under the category of protected landscape, providing for its management, by Representative Ridon.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill number 9021, repealing RA 8479, otherwise known as the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998, creating an oil industry regulatory board, establishing a strategic petroleum reserve, mandating a fuel subsidy program for public transport workers and other vulnerable sectors and for other purposes, by Representative Bautista Lim.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill number 9022, an act providing a 30-day grace period for the repayment of loans availed under the Public Transport Modernization Program, formerly known as the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, during periods of extraordinary oil price increases without the imposition of penalties, interest, or other charges, and for other purposes, by Representative Bautista Lim.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 9023, an act establishing a unified transport registry system for public transport workers and operators, ensuring inclusive eligibility, streamlined verification, and regular updating of beneficiary databases, and for other purposes, by Representative Bautista Lim.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 9024, an act promoting traditional foundational learning in kindergarten to grade 6, prohibiting learner use of personal digital devices during class hours, and limiting screen-based instruction as the default mode of teaching, by Representative Abante.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 9025, an act establishing an extended producer responsibility and take-back system for hybrid and electric vehicle batteries, providing for their proper disposal and regulating the importation and end-of-life management thereof, by Representative Abante.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 9026, an act institutionalizing the DSWD Sustainable Livelihood Program, by Representative Salceda.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill number 9027, an act establishing a national framework for internship programs in public and private institutions for higher education and for other purposes, by Representatives Mercado Revilla, Revilla Bryan, and Revilla Ramon Jolo.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill number 9028, an act promoting the re-entry into the workforce of persons who took a career break, providing incentives to employers and for other purposes, by Representatives Mercado Revilla, Revilla Ramon Jolo, and Revilla Bryan.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill number 9029, an act establishing the UP National Climate Resilience Institute and for other purposes, by Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdez Andrew Julian, and Asidre.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on Climate Change.
House Bill number 9030, an act amending RA 9513, otherwise known as the Renewable Energy Act of 2008, by Representative Hernandez Ferdinand.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill number 9031, declaring certain parcels of land of the public domain located in the municipalities of Busuanga, Coron, Culion, El Nido, Taytay, Dumaran, Araceli, San Vicente, and Rojas in the 1st District of the Province of Palawan as agricultural land, residential, industrial, and other productive purposes, by Representative Salvame.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill number 9032, declaring March 16 of every year as a special non-working holiday in El Nido, Palawan, in commemoration of its founding anniversary, by Representative Salvame.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill number 9033, an act including gasoline and diesel as prime commodities, amending for the purpose RA 7581, otherwise known as the Price Act, as amended by RA 10623 and for other purposes, by Representative Plato.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill number 9034, reclassifying a 151.37 hectare portion of timberland situated within the buffer zone of the Mount Malindang Range Natural Park in Concepcion, Misamis Occidental into alienable and disposable land, by Representative Almonte.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill number 9035, an act promoting the adoption of digital payments for financial transactions of the government and all merchants, by Representative Colliantes.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill number 9036, an act providing the Magna Carta for taxpayers, by Representative Colliantes.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 9037, an act imposing excise tax on plastic bags, thereby adding new sections 150-C and 288H in the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, by Representative Colliantes.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 9038, an act establishing a Philippine Strategic Petroleum Reserve System to strengthen national energy security, provide emergency petroleum supply during global oil disruptions, and for other purposes, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill number 9039, an act further strengthening the incentives for private sector participation in public educational institutions, amending for the purpose RA number 8525, otherwise known as the Adopt a School Act of 1998, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill number 9040, an act granting enhanced protection to consumers, further amending for the purpose RA 7394 or the Consumer Act of the Philippines as amended, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill number 9041, an act amending PD 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, to define and regulate floating status and providing safeguards in cases of business or technological displacement, including artificial intelligence, and for other purposes, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill number 9042, an act further strengthening the Anti-Money Laundering Council, amending for the purpose RA 9160, otherwise known as the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001 as amended, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill number 9043, an act asserting local government unit sovereignty over municipal waters, strengthening fisheries governance, institutionalizing resource rent-based fiscal autonomy, thereby ensuring sustainable local ecosystem, and for other purposes, by Representatives Bagao, Diokno, Sendanya, Ismula, Lagman, and Sagarbaria.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill number 9044, an act mandating the security of tenure for fisher folk and fisher workers, defining the employer-employee relationship in the fishing industry, providing for comprehensive employment benefits, access to financial assistance, and the right to self-organization for cooperative development, and for other purposes, by Representatives Bagao, Diokno, Sendanya, Ismula, and Lagman.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill number 9045, establishing the TESDA Training Institute in Valencia City, Bukidnon, by Representative Roque.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill number 9046, an act establishing fisherfolk settlement areas, providing security of tenure and protection against displacement for municipal fisherfolk, integrating climate-resilient coastal housing and livelihood support, and providing funds therefor, by Representatives Bagao, Diokno, Sendanya, Ismula, and Lagman.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill Number 9047, an act further amending PD 269 as amended, otherwise known as the National Electrification Administration Decree, by providing for the continuing mandate, benefits, and privileges of electric cooperatives that have ceased to operate as distribution utilities, by Representatives Dagook and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill Number 9049, an act mandating the stockpiling of public and private oil reserves, creating for the purpose the National Petroleum Security Reserve and establishing the National Petroleum Security Reserve Trust Fund, mandating minimum inventory reserves for the private sector and appropriating funds therefor, by Representative Benitez Alfredo.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill Number 9050, an act creating the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources and the Fisheries Commission, defining their mandates, powers, and functions and appropriating funds therefor, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources and the Committee on Government Reorganization.
House Bill Number 9051, an act to protect rape victims from coerced marriages, by repealing for this purpose Article 266-C of RA Number 8353 as amended, otherwise known as the Anti-Rape Law of 1997, and amending Articles 45 and 47 of Executive Order Number 209, otherwise known as the Family Code of the Philippines, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill Number 9052, an act institutionalizing the income classification of barangays, providing a barangay equalization fund and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill Number 9053, an act reverting fish ponds which have been unutilized or abandoned for a period of 3 years to forest lands, amending for the purpose Section 43 of PD 705, otherwise known as the Revised Forestry Reform Code of the Philippines, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill Number 9054, an act granting authority to imams to solemnize marriages, amending for the purpose RA 386 and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill Number 9055, establishing a congressional library in the lone legislative district of the province of Maguindanao del Norte, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill Number 9056, an act increasing the annual female recruitment quota for the Philippine National Police, amending Section 58 of RA 8551, otherwise known as the Philippine National Reform and Reorganization Act of 1998, appropriating funds therefor and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill Number 9057, an act to promote the development and sustainability of the seafood industry in the Philippines, enhancing research support and global competitiveness, and appropriating funds therefor, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill Number 9058, an act establishing libingan ng mga bayani annexes in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao and appropriating funds therefor, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill Number 9059, establishing a high school for sports in Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao del Norte, to be known as the Maguindanao del Norte High School for Sports, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill Number 9060, an act mandating the development, promotion, and use of water catchment systems in agriculture, appropriating funds therefor and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill Number 9061, an act establishing a local cooperatives development fund for each LGU and appropriating funds therefor and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Cooperatives Development.
House Bill Number 9062, an act establishing the National Coastal Greenbelt Program, providing funds therefor and for other purposes, by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Climate Change.
House Bill Number 9063, an act institutionalizing the use of adaptive crop climate calendars in agriculture to enhance farmers' resilience, provide access to localized weather, climate information, and for other purposes. By Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill number 9064, an act promoting the establishment of a public math and science high school in underserved areas and appropriating funds therefore. By Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 9065, an act recognizing the right of patients to designate a healthcare agent through a healthcare proxy, promoting advanced care planning, and providing for supported healthcare decision-making in the healthcare system. By Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 9066, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Luan Jacob Erlandson. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number 9067, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Kayla Danielle Mercado Hansen. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number 9068, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Nia Layson Harrison. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number 9069, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Nicolas Bungkal Marcanich. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number 9070, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Anthony Bungkal Marcanich Jr. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill number 9071, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Emma Rose Valenzuela Tovar. By Representatives Chua and D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill numbers 9072 to 9077, separating national high school annexes in certain municipalities in the province of Basilan from national high schools, converting into independent national high schools. By Representative Alano.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 9078, an act prohibiting access to social media platforms by minors below 18 years of age and imposing obligations on social media companies and internet service providers. By Representative Mercado.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
Resolutions. House Resolution 973, resolution congratulating and commending Team Pilipinas Poveda Enciende for winning the gold medal for Open Hip Hop Championship in the 2026 International All-Star Federation Dance Worlds. By Representative D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 974, resolution urging the Committee on Labor and Employment to immediately conduct an investigation in aid of legislation on the reported retaliatory actions of Kowloon House after signing the Memorandum of Agreement with its workers. For Representatives Elago, Co, and Tino.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 975, resolution seeking a minimum of 21% national budgetary share for Mindanao's socio-economic programs, exclusive of and without prejudice to the mandated block grant allocations for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. By Representative Almonte.
To the Committee on Mindanao Affairs.
House Resolution 976, a resolution directing the appropriate committees of the House of Representatives to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into electricity rates, pass-through charges, and related practices of the Meralco, and urging the ERC and COA to undertake a comprehensive review and audit. By Representatives Nazal and Marcoleta.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 977, resolution directing the Committee on Ways and Means to urge the Development Budget Coordination Committee to study and recommend the adoption of an emergency VAT stabilization mechanism on petroleum products. For Representatives Dagook and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Resolution 978, a resolution directing the Committee on Energy to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the legality, validity, and constitutionality of the Green Energy Auction Allowance as imposed through ERC Resolution Number 06, Series of 2025. For Representatives Dagook and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 979, a resolution directing the Committee on Energy to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the immediate suspension of ERC Resolution Number 02, Series of 2026, which imposes a uniform national lifeline subsidy rate and a 100% discount to all qualified marginalized end users consuming 0 to 50 kilowatt per hour per month on all distribution utilities, and to restore the DU-specific lifeline subsidy framework. By Representatives Dagook and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 980, a resolution directing the House Committee on Public Information to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into organized disinformation operations exploiting public concerns on rising electricity costs, including the activities of Peanut Gallery Media Network, with the end view of ensuring accountability and strengthening safeguards against fake news. By Representative Ridon.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message from the Senate. Message dated May 4, 2026, informing the House of Representatives that on even date the Senate passed the following Senate bills, in which it requests the concurrence of the House of Representatives. Senate Bill 1432, an act implementing the people's right to information and the constitutional policies of full public disclosure and honesty in the public service and for other purposes.
To the Committee on Public Information.
Senate Bill 1981, an act establishing the private basic education voucher program and appropriating funds therefor, repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 6728, or the government assistance to students and teachers in private education as amended.
To the Committee on Rules.
Communication. Letter dated April 16, 2026 of the BSP Bank Officer 6, Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House of Representatives duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Subpoena ducis tecum. Pursuant to Section 153, Rule 24 of the Provisional Rules of the House of Representatives, transmitting the subpoena ducis tecum dated April 6, 2026, issued by the Office of the Ombudsman regarding FF-C-GAN 26-0057, FF-C-JAN 26-0058, and FF-C-JAN 26-0063.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Alexander Pimentel, the representative of the 2nd District of Surigao del Sur, namely his spouse, Honorable Mayor Roxanne Pimentel, and guests Ms. Dolita Uy, Attorney Janissa Delicona, Haina Jean Boniao, Olivia Bagasbas, and Sunday Tadem.
To the guests of the Honorable Alexander Pimentel. The great chairman of the Special Committee on Strategic Intelligence and the most good-looking member of the House from the province of Surigao del Sur. Bugal ninyo ang inyong congressman. Welcome to the House of the People. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, would also like to recognize the guests of APEC Party List Representative Sergio Dagook, his guests from San Agustin Center of Studies, namely student seminarians John Christian Pahuay, Rainier Cervalios, Rensmark Anthony Oris, Edward Cuenca, Adrian Adlawan, Ronald Flores, Kurt Paraiso, Kenneth Sean Sedigo, Aleja Joseph de los Reyes, Dexter Dwight Famor, and Father Ronel Ian M. Garcia, OSA.
To the student seminarians from San Agustin Center of Studies, please rise to be acknowledged. The guests of the Honorable Serge Dagook, ang nagbibigay liwanag sa lahat, representing APEC Party List, welcome to the House of the People. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, would also like to recognize the guests of Akbayan Representatives Dada Kiram Ismula, Shell Jokno, Percival Sendanya, and Dinagat Island Representative Kaka Bagao, namely Engineer George Hukutan, Kolibugan Tribe Leader, Zamboanga City, Ustads Idris Iham, Yakan Tribe Leader, Zamboanga City, Maharaja Ustads Kasim Abdul Wakil, Sama Bangingi Tribe Leader, Zamboanga City, and Panglima Nasir Ismula, Sama Bangingi Tribe Chairman, Zamboanga City.
The guests of the Honorable Dada Kiram Ismula, Bakbayan Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to designate the following members to the Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of House Bill number 4744 and Senate Bill number 1981, establishing the private basic education voucher program, namely Representative Roman Romulo, Representative June Asidre, Representative Kenneth Gatchalian, Representative Marie Bernadette Escudero, Representative Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno.
There is a motion to designate the aforementioned members to the said conference committee. Do I hear any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I would like to recognize the guests of the Honorable Jan Attorney J.P. Padiernos, representative of GP Party List, his guests from academic delegates from the Netherlands, namely Ms. Rugio Ali, Ms. Amain Aoyama Tionko, and Ms. Laila Omar.
To the academic delegates from the Netherlands, the guests of the Honorable Rurik Padiernos of Galing sa Puso Party List, welcome to the House of the People. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended.
Session will now resume. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 5939 and Senate Bill number 1899, allowing the Department of Education the flexibility to determine the pedagogical approaches to be implemented in the basic education curriculum. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our rules, I move to ratify the said committee report.
There's a motion to ratify the said committee report. Any objection? All those in favor, say aye. All those against, say nay. The said conference committee report is now ratified. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize the visitors of the Honorable Filimon Espares of Co-op NATCO Party List, Mayor Victor Condes, Municipality of Bugasong, Antique, SK Chairman Christian Elizer Sitchon of Bugasong, Antique, from San Carlos Multipurpose Cooperative, Sacamuco, Sablayan, Occidental, Mindoro, Felipe Gamuyaw, Angeline Ortega, Percy Reyes, Crisaldo Manalansan, Doris Ortega, Feli Magbitang, Manris Azer Ortega, Elias Daoay, Roberto Neneng, Noreen Reyes, Adolfo Cuson, Gretchen Villanueva, and Divine Aguilar.
To the guests of Congressman Filimon Espares of NATCO Party List, welcome to the House of the People. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would also like to recognize the guests of Deputy Speaker Jefferson Konghun, namely the officials and members of MC Toda Zone 3 from Subic, Zambales, Federico Mendoza, President, Herman San Miguel, Vice President, Ronnie Garcia, Secretary, Auditors Edmond Monte Alegre, Israel de los Santos, Board of Directors Alberto Eyas Jr., Ferdinand Trinidad, Jeffrey Avellong, Domingo Baleros Jr., Ricardo Bautista, OIC Terminal Moner Hassan, Brian Corpus, Fernando Rimas, Advisor Elpidio, Del Amiti, and Ryan Melchor.
To my guests from the Municipality of Subic, the officials and members of NMC Toda Zone 3 of Subic, welcome to the House of the People. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, move to suspend session. For a few
Session
minutes.
suspended. Session will now resume. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 4745 and Senate Bill number 1937 institutionalizing support for public basic education schools in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, GIDA, and undeserved communities. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our rules, I move to ratify the said Conference Committee report.
There's a motion to ratify the said Conference Committee report. All those in favor of the Conference Committee report, say aye. All those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The said Conference Committee report is ratified. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I speak on a matter of personal and collective privilege to defend my integrity against criticisms on my stand not to participate in this Congress's impeachment process.
The gentleman from Caloocan has 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. With due respect to the members of the Justice Committee, I cannot in conscience agree that this Congress has the moral ascendancy to claim that the impeachment process is genuinely in pursuit of our constitutional mandate to uphold accountability. Why? Number one, the process beginning the 19th Congress is already tainted. Ito po ay pagpapatuloy lamang ng proseso na naganap ng 19th Congress. It is marked by hundreds of billions in infrastructure allocations and massive ayuda programs to cooperating legislators in the 19th Congress. The allegations of maleta and paper bags of cash during the impeachment process in the 19th Congress, hindi pa po ito naimbestigahan at hindi pa nare-resolve. One of the prime movers of the impeachment in the 19th Congress is Saldico, who resigned and left the country. Nakapagdududa. Dahil yung mismong nangunguna sa impeachment process ang siyang may hawak ng bilyong-bilyong pondo na nawala, nadala sa mga alokasyon, nadala sa mga flood control at anomalous projects. Maraming mga pahayag na nakakabahala, ngunit hindi natin ito iniimbestigahan. Kung susuriin lang natin ang mga allocations sa mga distrito ng mga legislators na aktibo sa impeachment process noong nakaraan, at marami pa rin mga aktibo ngayon. In particular, in the 2024 and the 2025 national budget, magugulat tayo sa laki nito. Even in my opponent in the last elections, the 2025 elections, publicly admitted that she signed the impeachment of VP Sara Duterte in aid of allocation. Natatakot siya na hindi siya mabibigyan ng pondo kung hindi siya pipirma sa impeachment. These circumstances put serious doubts. Is this accountability or is this about political leverage? After the impeachment vote in the plenary, let us examine the status of the four later release allocations. Let us see if this correlates with how members will be voting in the 20th Congress. Yung bumoto ba ng yes, maririlisan? Yung bang bumoto ng no, at yung mga abstain, maririlisan? Malalaman natin ang katotohanan sooner or later. Ang impeachment na ito ay maliwanag na disenyo ng Marcos administration, hindi para malaman ang buong katotohanan at para panagutin kundi upang pabagsakin ang kalaban sa politika at upang makalusot sa pinakamalaking nakawan sa kasaysayan ng bansa. Ginagamit ang mga institusyon na dapat ay neutral tulad ng NBI, COA at AMLAC. This impunity, nakakabahala po. Kailan ito titigil? Paano? Pag ako na, tulad ko, na bumabatikos, paano kung gusto kong patahimikin? Gagamitin din ba yung mga ahensya na ito? Baka magulat pa tayo. Maulit ang kasaysayan. Magamit ang mga institusyon para sa pagpapanatili sa kapangyarihan. Naganap na ito. Nagmalabis. Si Pangulong Duterte, maraming inapi. Katulad ni Congresswoman Laila de Lima. Ako, dahil ako ang kauna-unahang nagsalita laban sa war on drugs, tinanggal ng Duterte administration ang alokasyon sa aking distrito. Ginipit. Spalit, kung ginawa ito ng administrasyong Duterte sa kanyang mga kritiko, papayagan ba natin na yung mga ahensya na ito sa sa kasalukuyang administrasyon, gawin ito sa mga kalaban niya rin? This is impunity. At nakakatakot. Baka maulit ang kasaysayan. The Committee on Justice for the first time in the history of Congress did not allow a member to pose questions to witnesses or resource persons. Hindi ako nagkaroon ng pagkakataon. Tanungin ang mga kadududang pahayag ni Madriaga at iba pa. Dahil hindi ako miyembro. Wala po akong natatandaan sa 5 kongreso na dinaluhan ko. Kahit hindi ako miyembro, nakakapagtanong ako. Ngayon lang, dito sa Justice Committee. Alam ko po, maraming galit kay Pangulong Duterte. Sapagkat sa amin po sa Caloocan, ang daming collateral damage ng war on drugs. Nanindigan ako dahil sa pagmamalabis na ito. Pero ngayon, hindi ko naman papayagan na dahil si Duterte lang, magmamalabis tayo para apihin siya. Kung gagawin natin yon, anong kaibahan natin kay Duterte? Di parang si Duterte din tayo. We cannot be loud against the Duterte, but silent against Marcos. There are clear signs of abuse, of misgovernance, or cover-up of corruption that cause our country and people economic distress. Today, inflation has reached 7.3%. Habang kumakain tayo sa masarap at maraming putahe dyan sa South Lounge, nagdidildil ng asin ang ating mga kababayan. Habang abala ang administrasyon na pagtakpan ang mga kalokohan at supili ng mga kalaban, hirap na ang ating mamamayan. Mr. Speaker, I will not be swayed by allocations, by power or loss of it, by fear or threats. I will stand by the dictates of my conscience, guided by my discernment and prayers, and what I believe is for the betterment of our country. Kasaysayan ng husga kung sino ang umaatras sa laban at kung sino ang nakikipagsabwatan. Ako si Egay Irisen ng Caloocan, nanindigan nung EDSA 1, nanindigan nung EDSA 2, lumaban kay Duterte sa war on drugs, 40 taong lumaban sa mga political dynasties, lumaban para kay Noynoy, para kay Cory, para kay Mar Rojas, patuloy na lalaban sa Administrasyong Marcos hanggang hindi nito masusumpungan ang katinoan. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Arisi to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Nag-usap kami sa police yan. Sabi niya, hindi ko lang. Hayaan niyo. Oy, sabi ko sa kanila, plastic mo yung iba, pero sa akin hindi. Nag-usap kami nag-usap kami ni ang kaharap ko doon si Yusuf Nick Conti at saka si AY. Alam ko tatlo. Basta sa akin kami sabi ni Vince sa akin, kung anong gusto, yung sa district ko, parang basta ang sagot sa akin ni Vince, kung anong gusto mo ko. Sabihin ko na lang po dito, na-isend sa'yo. Thank you, Alvin. Send mo na sa kanila. Get. Session will now resume. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with leave of the House, I move to open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Jesus Bong Suntay of the 4th District of Quezon City to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Jesus Bong Suntay is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, ramdam ng bawat Pilipino ang tindi ng init at kasabay nito ang pagtaas ng gastos, lalo na sa kuryente dahil sa tumitinding krisis sa langis na dulot ng sigalot sa Middle East. Habang tumataas ang temperatura, tumataas din ang ating konsumo at kasabay nito, tumataas ang ating bayarin. I opened my Meralco bill and like many Filipinos, tinignan ko ang total at medyo natakot. Nang tinignan ko ito, line by line, ang nakita ko yung aking total electric bill. I see a system of charges that I did not negotiate, do not fully understand, and cannot avoid. May generation charge, transmission loss charge, distribution charge, supply charge, metering charge, VAT, universal charges, renewable energy charges. We are told that these are passed through, that the utility is merely collecting on behalf of others, that it does not profit from these amounts. At totoo naman yon. Technically, they are correct. But the effect is this. Every increase in cost, every fluctuation in price, every policy decision ends up in the bill of the consumer. Because these are fragmented across multiple line items, the burden becomes invisible, normalized until the total becomes unbearable. Hindi na ito simpleng bayad sa kuryente. Ito ay sistemang naglalagay ng buong bigat ng industriya sa balikat ng consumer. Mr. Speaker, the largest portion of the bill, the generation charge, is determined by private power producers. It changes every month depending on fuel prices, demand, and supply conditions. When prices rise, consumer pay more. When supply tightens, consumer pay more. The same is true for transmission. The same is true for multiple other components embedded in the bill. No advance notice, no meaningful control, just a higher number at the end of the month. And then we tax it. VAT is imposed on top of these charges, many of which are already passed through. Sipin mo, hindi natin konsumo, hindi natin ginamit. Ipinataw, ipinatong sa electric bill, tapos papatawan ng VAT. In effect, consumers are taxed on the costs they did not incur, could not control, and cannot contest. At hindi doon nagtatapos. May mga singil na para sa mga programang hindi natin pinili. May mga obligasyon mula sa nakaraan hanggang ngayon ay binabayaran pa rin ng kasulukuyang consumer. Hindi na ito simpleng bayad sa kuryente. Ito ay bayad sa buong istruktura ng sistema. None of this is illegal. Every charge, generation, transmission, VAT, universal charges, renewable energy charges has a legal basis. These are authorized by law, approved by legislation, approved by regulators, and implemented according to the established frameworks. But we must confront the truth. Legal does not automatically mean fair. Because what we have today is a system where every Filipino consumer, particularly the middle class and the near poor, have become default payers of everything. At talagang nabibigatan na sila sa epekto nito. The middle class and the near poor do not steal electricity. They do not qualify for lifeline rates. They are not beneficiaries of targeted subsidy programs. Ngunit silang nagbabayad ng buo, bawat buwan, walang palya. They pay full VAT. They fund subsidies for others through embedded charges. They absorb increases driven by fuel prices, supply shortage, and regulatory decisions. They carry costs that were never theirs to begin with. This is not merely a question of high prices. It is a question of how costs are assigned and whether these assignments are fair. Allow me to speak plainly about one charge that captures the inequity of the system loss charge. System loss refers to electricity that never reaches the consumer. Some of it is unavoidable, but some of it comes from inefficiencies, pilferage, faulty system, weak enforcement, and yet, even this is charged to the consumers. Nagbabayad tayo para sa kuryenteng hindi natin nagamit. That reflects a system where responsibility is shifted away from where it belongs. What we are seeing is not just a pricing problem. It is a governance problem. Electricity is an essential service that underpins daily life, economic productivity, and public welfare. The Constitution directs the state to regulate public utilities and protect consumers. And IPIRA requires that electricity rates be just, reasonable, and transparent. But in practice, we see a structure where costs that are not directly tied to actual consumption are still recovered through the bill, layer by layer, line by line. Hindi ko po sinisisi ang mga power generators at mga service providers. Kagaya ng sinabi ko, tiga-kolekta lang sila. But this cost na kinukolekta are passed through to the consumers. These mechanisms were crafted for legitimate purposes. Lifeline rates exist to assist marginalized households. Senior citizen discounts recognize the need of an aging population. Walang masama sa mga programang ito. Kailangan ng mga ito. But the question is not whether this program should exist. The question is who should pay for them. For too long, we have accepted a structure where the consumer is the default absorber of every cost, whether or not it is directly related to consumption. For too long, we have allowed the system where responsibility is diffused, but the burden is concentrated on the Filipino household. Panahon na para linawin ang prinsipyo. Ang consumer ay dapat magbayad lamang para sa kanyang aktual na konsumo at sa mga gastusing makatwiran at direktang kaugnay nito. Nagiging invisible tax ang electric bill. Consumers are already paying taxes. Nagbabayad na tayo ng VAT. Nagbabayad na tayo ng income tax. Nagbabayad tayo ng buwis para pondohan ang mga programang panlipunan. Kung bubuwisan na natin ang mamamayan, bakit sa electric bill pa kinukuha ang additional subsidy para sa social protection? Social protection should not be embedded, hidden, or redistributed through the electric bill. If we choose as a matter of policy to support the vulnerable sectors, then we must fund that support transparently through government, not indirectly through other consumers. Today, we call the attention of this chamber to the urgent need for coherent structural reform in electricity pricing. The Constitution is clear. Public utilities must serve public interests. At kung may social protection, kung may tulong na gustong ibigay ang gobyerno ang dapat kumilos. At ang gobyerno ang dapat managot. Huwag natin ipasa sa mga consumer. What needs to change is not the existence of social programs. What needs to change is how we pay for them. We need a coherent reform anchored on a simple principle. Electric consumers should pay only for efficient and prudent costs directly attributable to the electricity they consume. Social protection should be funded by the state, and inefficiencies should be addressed by those responsible, not passed on to the public. We must stop relying on automatic recovery for consumers. Mr. Speaker, hindi na tama na patuloy na ipinapasa sa consumer ang iba't ibang singil, lalo na ang tinatawag na government subsidy. Hindi makatarungan na ang maayos magbayad ang patuloy na sumasalaw ng dagdag gastos dahil gusto ng gobyerno ng pamahalaan bigyan ng subsidiya ang mga ibang tao. Kung may programang panlipunan, dapat malinaw kung sino ang dapat magbayad. Hindi automatic ipinapasa sa mga consumers ng kuryente. Hindi na pwedeng ipasa ang gastos sa mamamayan dahil masyado na silang nabibigatan. Hindi ito laban sa industriya, hindi ito laban sa pamahalaan. Ito ay paninindigan para sa mga mamamayan. Ang kuryente ay hindi luho. Ito ay pangangailangan. At kung ang Estado ay nangakong pangalagaan ng kapakanan ng mamamayan, kung may social contract tayo sa taong bayan, hindi maaaring ipasa ang bigat ng mga desisyon na ito sa iisang sektor lamang. Ang gobyerno ang dapat kumilos, ang gobyerno ang dapat umako sa mga pulisiyang panlipunan. Hindi ito dapat pinapasa sa consumer sa pamamagitan ng kanilang buwanang bayarin sa kuryente. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Suntay to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion approved.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Representative Sergio Dagook of APEC Party List to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Sergio Dagook of APEC Party List is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mayong hapon sa akong mga kaubanan, mayong hapon kanatong tanan. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I rise today on a matter of urgent national importance, one that reaches every Filipino household, every jeepney terminal, every fishing port, every farm, every sari-sari store, every electric bill, and every dining table in this country. I rise because once again, the Filipino people are paying for a crisis they did not create. At muli, ang ordinaryong mamamayan ang unang nasasaktan. Hindi na po usapan ng mahal ba o affordable pa ang halaga ng gasolina. This becomes an issue of survival, Mr. Speaker. This is about whether a tricycle driver can still bring home enough to feed his children. Whether a fisherman can still afford diesel for his boat. Whether a farmer can still irrigate his land. Whether a commuter can still pay the fare. Whether a mother can still stretch the household budget for one more week. And this is why I rise today. We often hear, wala tayong control sa oil prices. Sa napakaraming committee hearings na ginaganap natin dito, puro paulit-ulit ang sagot ng ating mga ahensya. Wala tayong control. Wala tayong control. Yes, but we have control on how we respond and control over policy. We have control over taxes. We have control over compassion in governance. Let us not use lack of control over global markets as excuse for inaction in domestic policy. That would be a failure of imagination and a failure of with due respect leadership. Ito po ang katanungan na gusto nating masagot. Kapag tumataas ang presyo ng gasolina dahil sa digmaan, krisis at geopolitical shocks, dapat bang sumabay na tumaas ang buwis na kinokolekta ng gobyerno? Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, during our hearing in the Committee of Transportation last April 28 and hearing of ad hoc committee on legislative energy action and development yesterday, we asked a simple and a very fundamental question. Noong tumaas ang presyo ng fuel, tumaas din ba ang VAT collection ng gobyerno? The Department of Finance answered that indeed, fuel import value rose by 31% and VAT collection rose by 25 to 26%. Tumaas ang ating koleksyon dahil percentage tax ang pinapataw natin sa produkto ng oil. Mr. Speaker, Bureau of Customs collection more than doubled in a month. E-consumers struggled. Government collections surged as transport operations suffered. Revenues increased as inflation hurt our households. The value-added tax collection balloon. Yan po ang nangyayari sa atin ngayon. Habang halos wala nang kinakain ang ating mga kababayan, tumataas ang koleksyon ng ating Bureau of Internal Revenue sa VAT. These collections have already exceeded projections and we now collecting what we call the windfall revenues. In my opinion, Mr. Speaker, we should not continue doing so, especially during an emergency. Mr. Speaker, to emphasize and put actual context, value-added tax is a percentage base. VAT collection increases when prices increases. It rises because people are suffering, because prices have exploded, because crisis has inflated the tax base. Mr. Speaker, mga kasamahan ko sa bulwagang ito, this is not growth, that is not expanded productivity, that is not increased prosperity, that is taxation riding on crisis. Again, that is taxation riding on crisis. Parang pinagkakakitaan pa ng gobyerno yung crisis na ito. I rise today to propose what I call an emergency VAT stabilization mechanism. Simple in principle, but powerful in impact. During extraordinary fuel shocks, the government should collect VAT only on fuel price originally assumed in the budget. Then, it should suspend VAT on the excess caused purely by crisis. Halimbawa, Mr. Speaker, bago magkagira, 55 pesos per liter ang nagiging basihan ng BIR sa target revenue collection nila para sa taong 2026. Patuloy nating kukolektahin yung 55 pesos. Pero yung excess of 55, yung increase niya dahil sa crisis, isuspend natin yung koleksyon. Otherwise, kumikita tayo sa krisis. Parang nakikinabang ang gobyerno sa krisis. Instead na kanyang gabayan, tulungan yung ating mga kababayan, parang sinasakyan pa ng gobyerno yung krisis para lumaki yung kanyang kita. Let me try to illustrate, Mr. Speaker. If the 2026 budget assume fuel at 50 pesos per liter and crisis poses it to 90 pesos or more, my recommendation is that VAT should be collected only for the 50 pesos and not for the 40 pesos increase after the crisis. While we have advocated for the suspension of VAT, we do not abolish VAT kasi nakukolekta pa rin natin yung target natin na revenue. Kasi yun ang basis sa target natin na revenue. In effect, we stabilize it. We do not dismantle the tax system. We shield the people from abnormal taxation caused by abnormal events. This is fair and this is responsive governance. This is precision relief. Targeted, measured, temporary, emergency-based. Mr. Speaker, what I am suggesting is simple. Collect what was assumed in the budget prior to the crisis, but do not collect extra taxes merely because war or any crisis for that matter made oil expensive. Hindi po natin winawasak ang ating revenue targets. Nililimitahan lang natin ang windfall taxation. That is where the difference lies. When DBCC submitted the national budget, it used definitely assumptions and parameters. Projected fuel prices, projected import values, and projected collections on excise and value-added tax. These assumptions form the basis of fiscal planning, meaning there is already a baseline. Kumbaga po, may batayan na. Let us use that baseline as the VAT collection ceiling during emergencies or crisis. If revenues have already met the targets, then excess collections arising from crisis pricing should not be treated as permanent fiscal entitlement. They are windfalls, and windfalls should not burden the people further. Beyond economics and legality, Mr. Speaker, there is a moral issue. We are a Christian country. There is always a principle of, for me, not all legal are moral. Morality and legality should go hand in hand. It is moral. Is it moral that the government collect more simply because crisis had made fuel more expensive? Is it moral that the state benefit from the pain of the Filipino people? Is it moral that the government do nothing instead of stepping in and providing relief? Government should not profit from crisis. Government should instead manage crisis. Mr. Speaker, I am urging the Development Budget Coordination Committee or the DBCC to study and recommend this mechanism, if possible, urgently. I am not asking for reckless action. I am asking for analysis, simulation, recommendation, computation, and even policy design. I ask DBCC this question. What was your budget assumed for fuel price during the budget process? What collections have exceeded projections? What part is windfall? Can a VAT cap tied to budget assumptions be operationalized? Can it be done under existing authority? Can we protect consumers without harming fiscal stability? Mr. Speaker, we have given the President the powers to suspend or reduce taxes during emergencies. Those tools exist. The question is, will we use them creatively? Will we use them for people-centered relief or leave them dormant? Powers unused in times of crisis are protections denied. Think of a jeepney driver paying higher diesel, a fisherman paying higher fuel, a farmer transporting produce, a mother paying higher food cost, a working paying higher fares. Every piso matters to them. For policymakers, maybe 4 to 5 pesos relief per liter may look small. For the ordinary Filipinos, that reduction could mean dinner, that can mean fair going home, that can mean school allowance of their children, that can mean survival. Policy becomes real at the margins, and that is where poor families live. Allow me to say, this matters most for those who consume little but suffer much. The poor do not hedge against oil prices. They endure them. They absorb them. We must hear their silence and legislate for it if needed. Kasi yan po yung trabaho natin, to legislate something that can give relief to our kababayan. In closing, Mr. Speaker, history does not and will not ask whether we balance revenue. History will ask whether we stood with the people when crisis struck. Today, we are called to answer that. I chose to stand with the commuters, with the drivers, with the farmers, with the fishermen, with the consumers, with the Filipino families struggling under rising cost. I am therefore respectfully asking this House to stand with them too, because government should never collect more from people simply because crisis made them pay more. Government should help carry the burden, not add weight to this problem. Sa panahon ng krisis, Mr. Speaker, ang buwis ay hindi dapat magiging dagdag pasanin. Dapat ang polisiya ang magiging panangga at sandalan ng ating mamamayan. Mr. Speaker, let us act now. Let us show the Filipino people that in this House, which we call the House of the People, when crisis comes, the government will not count revenues. The government will stand with them. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize the Honorable Paolo Marcoleta of the Sagip Party List for his manifestation. Interpellation.
The Honorable Paulo Marcoleta is now recognized.
Thank you. May I be allowed to propound a few questions to the distinguished representative of APEC?
Gladly, it's my honor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague. Nung pong tayo ay tinamaan ng pandemya nung 2020, yung pong nakaraang administrasyon ay mabilis na umaksyon dito sa Kongreso, na kung saan nagpatawag sila ng emergency session, special session, to act decisively on needed measures para po matugunan ang impending crisis nung panahon na yon, which is yung COVID-19. Alam ko po yun dahil chief of staff na po ako ng tatay ko noon. Kahit nakabreak sila po ay nagtawag ng special session para aksyonan ang napakahalagang mga legislative measures, yung nga pong Bayanihan 1, para po matugunan ang pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan nung panahon ng pandemya. Mr. Speaker, tayo po bang nung 20th Congress ngayon, nung tayo po ay nagkaroon ng break at sumiklab ang digmaan sa Iran, sa pagitan ng Iran, US at Israel, meron po bang nakaisip sa ating liderato na tayo ay magtawag ng special session?
Sa pagkakatanda ko po, mayroon po tayong ginagawa, I myself is attending. I'm flying from Siargao to Manila to attend those special committee hearings, hindi session, committee hearings sa Ways and Means at saka sa lead.
Opo. So in short, kahit po kayo ay talagang gumagastos para lumipad mula sa inyong hometown papunta dito, ay hindi po talaga nagkaroon ng Hindi po nagtawag ng special session ng ating Pangulo to act on proposed measures to address the fuel crisis brought about by the Middle East conflict.
Wala pong naganap na special sessions, instead committee hearings to discuss matters about government interventions.
Opo, at nung isa nga pong itinanghal na lead committee conference, ako po ay umapila sa ating chairperson ni si Congressman Miro Kimbo na ako nga po'y umaampila na kung sakali ay dinggin ng presidente na siya ay magtawag ng special session kasi marami pong nakabinbin na batas na sana magbibigay kalutasan o lunas sa problema natin noon. Ako nga po ay katunayan nag-submit ng bill that will put a cap on fuel VAT. Yung VAT ng fuel ay dun lamang sana sa pre-war o pre-crisis rates. Yun po yung layo ng aking batas. At hanggang ngayon ay hindi po na-aksyonan dahil nga po hindi po nakapagtawag ng special session. At isa pa po doon, yung isang bill namin na inihain ni Congressman Makasaet na magkaroon sana ng strategic stockpiling. Mag-imbak ng sapat na supply ng langis para hindi tayo namomroblema pag ganitong may sumisiklab na digmaan sa gitnang silangan. So ito po hindi na-aksyonan.
Ako din po, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, filed similar measures, proposed measures, like amendment ng PD 334, yan po yung PNOC charter na layunin sana. 19 Congress pa po, kung pa po pinail yun, para magkaroon sana yung PNOC ng mga dipo sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao, at 25% ng ating excise tax ay yung parang sin tax na pupunta sa health, pupunta sana dito sa PNOC, pambili ng stock na fuel. At I have also filed a bill, no? Similar to the proposal that in your bill. Hindi ko lang nabasa yung bill mo. Itong panawagan ko ngayon na ipako muna natin doon sa presyo, which is the basis of the BIR, doon sa target revenue nila sa 2026. Then yung in excess of that amount, isuspend muna natin. Anyway, naka-windfall na tayo nung almost 2 months.
Opo, dahil marami na po tayong nakuha na revenue dahil po dun sa windfall na sinasabi nyo. Pero bumalik na nga po, nag-resume na ang session. Ako po'y nag-aantay sa Committee on Energy kung kailan po matitake up ang ating mga panukalang batas.
Mr. Speaker, actually, na-take up na po yan kahapon kasi mayroon tayong lead, no? Kasama naman po yung lahat ng mga standing committees na involved, no? Doon sa possible measure as government intervention. So kasama yung agriculture, energy, mga bill na yon, na nagkaroon na po ng committee hearing kahapon.
Opo. Thank you very much for that response, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague. Kayo po ba ay naniniwala na ang Department of Energy pati ang ERC ay wala talagang kapangyarihan na kontrolin o mag-take over sa fuel industry sa panahon ng emergency o sa panahon ng krisis tulad nitong kinakaharap natin ngayon?
In my humble understanding of the oil deregulation law, wala po, but with the issuance of our President of the Executive Order, mayroon na po silang kakaunti na kapangyarihan na para somehow diktahan yung presyo para yung ginagawa sa DTI na SRP.
Opo, nabasa ko rin po yun sa Oil Deregulation Act. In times of crisis, the Department of Energy Secretary can take over the industry and the players. Meron pong ganun na provision. At ito po ay hindi masyadong nabibigyan pansin itong provision na ito sa ating batas. Na para bang
Sa palagay ko, hindi siya automatic. That's why, before the break, ipinasa natin yung, hindi ko na matandaan yung House Bill no, na nagiging batas na, which is the basis of the President to issue the Executive Order. 110 yata.
yung po bang excise tax, yung pag-suspend nito ay na-apply na sa diesel at sa gasolina natin?
Unfortunately, hindi pa po. Kerosene lang po at LPG.
Ano po? Pakiulit po yung sagot.
Kerosene at LPG. Yung diesel at saka gasoline, hindi pa po.
What is stopping us from implementing that law? Bakit naging selective po ang application ng batas na yun?
Isa din po yan sa katanungan ko noong April 15 na committee meeting sa lead dito sa plenaryo. Isa yan sa tinatanong ko sa DBCC. Ang sagot nila, until now, they are still evaluating, studying, no, kung kinakailangan ba. That's why, until now, they did not submit a recommendation yet to the President. Ang sinabit lang muna nila, yung recommendation na isuspend yung kerosene at saka LPG. That's why, yan lang yung sinuspend ni President on the basis of that recommendation.
Ano po ba ang ating polisiya pagka naisabatas natin ang isang panukala? Magkakaroon ba ito ng kulatilya? Magkakaroon ba ito ng mga kondisyones? O di ba dapat ito ay across the board ang aplikasyon?
Habang tinatalakay pa natin yung panukalang batas na yan, which is yan yung pinag-uusapan kahapon, wala pa tayong final na provision. So malalaman lang natin yan kung that will be brought for the debate on the second reading sa plenary. But initial deliberation pa lang po yung House Bill 884 yata kahapon.
Opo. Medyo nakakapagtaka po yun na naging selective ang aplikasyon ng batas. And it excluded diesel and gasoline in the suspension of excise tax. Hindi ko po alam kung ito nangyari na. Meron po bang president dito na ang aplikasyon ng batas ay may pinipili? May pinipili na item. Merong lalagtawan, merong i-cover. At kanino pong nanggaling yung rekomendasyon na yun na wag isamang LPG ang diesel at gasolina?
DBCC yata ang may recommendation.
Pero batas na po ito Di po ba?
Ang ating pinasang batas, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, before the break, is just granting authority, no, to the President to suspend. So si Presidente na po ang mag-issue niyan.
So it was recommended to him, wag isama ang gasolina.
Nakalagay din kasi doon, upon recommendation ng DBCC. So kung ano lang yung i-recommend ng ating mga member sa DBCC, which is composed of different government agencies, yan lang din po ang gagawin ng Presidente.
It is rather ironical to note kung ano pa yung fuel na ginagamit ng middle class. Specifically, yung drivers natin, yung diesel, yun pa yung in-exclude. Ito yung ginagamit na hanap buhay ng ating mga chopper. Bakit ito pa yung hindi sinama sa suspension ng excise tax. Parang baligtad. Kung ano pa yung ginagamit ng mga tsuper ng transport sector, ito pa yung hindi kasama.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, hindi ko po alam ano yung mindset ng DBCC when they recommended to exclude diesel and gasoline in their recommendation for the suspension of VAT to the President.
Opo, at alam naman natin ang kalagayan ng mga tsuper natin. Yung iba nga po, hindi na bumibiyahe dahil hindi na nila kaya ang presyo ng diesel. At ano po bang mga alternatibong inilalahad ng Department of Energy? Meron po ba silang alternative suppliers bukod sa pag-angkat ng langis sa Middle East? Meron po ba silang tinitignan na ibang alternative sources ng oil?
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, I cannot speak in behalf of the Department of Energy.
Opo, dahil
Kasi katanungan ko din po yan.
opo, meron po akong mga naririnig. Ang Russian government nakakapag-offer naman ng oil, nakakapag-offer ng diesel, specifically Kazakhstan. Bakit hindi natin i-explore yung posibilidad na yun? Bakit tayo ay natatali sa Middle East conflict? Parang natutuwa pa yung yung Department of Energy pag may ganitong krisis.
Siguro, mag-file na lang tayo ng resolution for that purpose, baka matalakay. So, kagaya ng ginagawa, no, by this representation, we have filed the appropriate resolution, baka sakali matalakay at mapansin.
Opo, ako po ay sumusuporta sa inyong saloobin, Congressman Dagook, na kailangan maging people-centered ang ating gobyerno at magkaroon ng malasakit sa kanilang kapakanan. Kasi ang lumalabas, masyado tayong business-centric. Mas iniisip natin ang survival ng mga negosyante kaysa yung mga ordinaryong mamamayang Pilipino.
Thank you for that support, my dear colleague.
That ends my interpellation. Madam Speaker, distinguished colleague, maraming salamat po.
Okay.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable... Madam Speaker, I would like to recognize Representative Arthur Yap of the Murang Corriente Party List for his interpellation.
The Honorable Arthur Yap of the Murang Corriente Party List is recognized for his interpellation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Kung mamabutihin po ng kagalang-galang na Congressman Serge Dagook, isang tanong lang naman po.
Gladly, Madam Speaker.
Congressman Dagook, magkasama po tayo dun sa mga lead hearings. Nabantayan nyo ba yung paliwanag ng mga oil companies na sinabi nila, kailangan po natin ipataw yung price increases sa taong bayan dahil sa replacement cost? Nabantayan nyo po yun? Nabantayan nyo po ba yun?
Yes, Madam Speaker, narinig ko po yun, but I don't believe in them. Bakit tayo ang magbabayad sa kanilang replacement? Ang ibig bang sabihin noon, tayo ang namumuhunan para sa kanila. So yan po yung paninindigan ko doon na palagi nilang sinasabi na malaki kasi kailangan ng kapital kung ibibenta natin yung fuel sa halaga nung pag-angkat pa noon na kailangan yung halaga ng replacement ang halaga na sa pump price. Ako po ay hindi po sangayon doon. Kasi ibig sabihin, tayo po ang mga mamamayan na mga gumagamit ng fuel ang namumuhunan para sa kanila. So ang sa kanila, kita na lang palagi. Tayo ang namumuhunan.
Congressman Serge, pwedeng tulungan niyo rin po kung maintindihan yung issue sa transmission. Ang sabi po nila, pag kinargahan po ng bagong renewable energy, kailangan po yung transmission po magbago. Ganun po ba yon? Papalitan po yung mga linya?
Yan po yung paulit-ulit ko, Madam Speaker, na sinabi in all committee hearings of the Committee on Energy. The moment na we will infuse additional capacity to the grid, we need to upgrade the grid. At if you are going to upgrade the grid to accommodate the additional capacity from the different sources na mga bago, ay ang proseso po niyan, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines will file that so-called Transmission Development Plan. CAPEX po yan, Capital Expenditures. Ipapile nila yan sa Energy Regulatory Commission. The moment na ma-approve yan, bago pa nga ma-implement, upon approval sa ERC, they are already authorized to collect a certain amount representing the cost of that transmission development plan. Kaya, pag i-upgrade natin yung transmission line to accommodate additional capacity, may gastos na kaagad tayo kasi tayo din po ang magbabayad niyan.
Sa application pa lang po, Congressman Dagoc, sa application pa lang.
Upon approval, Madam Speaker.
So hindi pa po tinatayo.
Nangungulikta na. Actually, part of the transmission charge that we are paying at present are transmission development plan already approved by RC na for implementation pa.
Congressman, sa lahat po ng mga members ng energy grid, yung mga players po nun, from generation, transmission to distribution, lahat po yon, hindi po ba kailangan silang mag-submit ng development plan sa ERC?
Tama po yon. Ang transmission operator or system operator, ang tawag po Transmission Development Plan or TDP. Sa distribution po, ang isasubmit po nila annually sa Department of Energy kung private distribution utility, DDP, Distribution Development Plan. Kung electric cooperative ka, isubmit mo sa National Electrification Administration at the National Electrification Administration will submit that to the Department of Energy. That's under Republic Act 10531 po.
So, Madam Speaker, ang ibig sabihin po nun, lahat sila, maaprubahan lang po yung mga plano nila, kakaltasan na po tayong lahat ng mga consumers.
Only sa transmission. Sa distribution development plan, normally electric cooperatives will apply loans to the National Electrification Administration to finance the CAPEX approved by ERC. Then, after the approval, after implementation, pag ma-implement na po yan, halimbawa, additional substation, saka lang po, when the loan amount will be released para mabayaran yung substation, saka lang po mag-umpisa na kolektahin yung CAPEX. Depende po sa number of years. Kung 10 years po yung repayment, 10 years po yung amount na ma-reflect. Good for 10 years. So that is computed based on the kilowatt-hour sales. So the amount of loan per year will be divided by 12 para makuha natin yung monthly. Then yung monthly amount ng amortization will be divided by the kilowatt-hour sales, monthly sales ng electric co-op. That is the amount in piso per kilowatt-hour that will be charged for a period, for the repayment period.
Madam Speaker, pag ano po yon? Pag co-op, pag private utility, paano po ang pag nabigyan po ng approval ang private utility sa ERC, paano po ang kaltasan nun?
Unfortunately, hindi ko po alam yung sa private distribution utility kasi even the methodology in computing their rates and recoverable cost ay iba po sa electric cooperative because electric cooperatives are non-stock, non-profit under Presidential Decree 269. So the tariff used or the methodology used by ERC in computing the co-op rates is based on cash flow or RCWR. But since private corporations are stock profit-oriented, they use the return on rate base or PBR or performance-based rate. May patong po yan na at least 12% return of investment.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Ang importante po ay narinig namin yung sagot na hindi po siguro makatarungan yung sinasabing pag-charge po ng replacement cost. Dahil parang tayo po ang namuhunan para dun po sa mga electric corporations.
Tama po. Yan po yung paninindigan ko. That's my position about the replacement cost, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker na naman pala.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Salamat po, Congressman Dago.
Thank you, my dear colleague. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Dagook and the interpellations of the Honorable Yap and the Honorable Marcoleta to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Representative Arthur Yap of the Murang Corriente Party List to avail of the privileged hour.
The representative from Murang Corriente Party List, Arthur Yap, is now recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, tinignan ko po yung listahan ng mga mambabatas na nag-deliver po ng privilege speech nila sa ngayong hapon po. At doon po sa apat, tatlo po kami. Ang topic po namin yung hindi na po makatarungang electricity billings ng taong bayan. Senyalis po siguro to ng galit ng taong bayan. Nasunod-sunod po kami na nagtatalumpati, nire-register po yung galit namin sa issue na to. At may dahilan po na magalit ang taong bayan. Sa bawat tahanan, sa bawat tindahan, sa bawat MSME, sa bawat manggagawang Pilipino, iisa ang tanong. Bakit po napakataas ng singil ng kuryente? Hindi na ito simpleng usapin ng billing. Ito po ay usapin ng katarungan. It is a question now of fairness. It is an issue of justice. Kahapon po sa pagdinig ng lead sa mababang kapulungan, muling tinalakay ang samut-saring pass-through charges na ipinapataw sa consumer, mga singil na otomatikong ipinapasa sa publiko sa pamamagitan ng electric bill. Ayon mismo sa disclosures ng Meralco, humigit kumulang 88% ng kabuuang electric bill ay pass-through charges lamang. Generating charges, transmission charges, systems loss, universal charges, feed-in tariff fit-all taxes, GEA, green energy auction charges, at iba pang singiling ipinapasa direkta sa consumer. 12% lamang ang tunay na distribution charge ng utility. Sa madaling salita, ang electric bill ng Pilipino ay hindi na lamang bayad sa kuryente. Ang electric bill ng consumer ngayon ay koleksyon ng samut-saring pulisiya, subsidyo, regulatory charges at buwis. Yes, Mr. Speaker, ang mga singil ay may basehan sa batas. Oo nga, tignan natin. Ang universal charge at missionary electrification ay pinapayagan sa ilalim ng IPIRA o RA 9136. Ang lifeline subsidy ay may basehan rin po doon. sa IPIRA. Pero doon po sa lifeline subsidy, alam ba nating mga consumers na kinukuha yon sa ilang mga consumers at binibigay po sa ibang consumers. Alam po ba natin ito? Doon po sa FIT-all, sa Feed-in Tariff Allowance na nakabatay sa Renewable Energy Act, Republic Act 9513. May basehan man, wala naman pong express provision ito na nagsasabi na pwede itong ipasa sa mga consumers. Mahal po natin ang mga senior citizens. Gusto po natin sila tulungan. Pero again, wala naman pong nakasulat na express provision sa Expanded Senior Citizens Act na pwede po natin bawasan ang kanilang electric billing from the general consuming public. Hindi po natin alam yon. Bagamat gusto po natin silang tulungan at mahal po natin sila, wala naman pong nagsasabi na may express provision na kukunin po sa lahat ng konsumidor at doon po ibibigay sa expanded sa mga seniors natin. In the same way, sa lifeline subsidy, ganun rin po ang ginagawa. Kinukuha lang, kino-cross-subsidize sa ibang mga consumers. Mga kapatid, hindi lahat ng kasalukuyang ipinapasa sa consumer ay tahasang mandatoryo sa ilalim ng batas sa eksaktong paraang ginagawa ngayon. Marami rito ay pinalawak sa pamamagitan ng administrative issuances, ERC regulations, policy interpretation, at regulatory discretion. At dito pumapasok ang mahalagang usapin ng fairness. Tama po ba to? Dahil ang tunay na tanong ay hindi lamang may legal basis ba, ang tunay na tanong ay makatarungan pa ba ito? Dahil hindi lahat ng legal ay patas. At hindi lahat ng pinapayagan ng batas ay makatarungan sa ordinaryong mamamayan. Mr. Speaker, hindi po tayo laban sa renewable energy. Hindi po tayo laban sa pagtulong sa mga kapatid nating mas nangangailangan po ng tulong. Hindi po tayo laban sa senior citizens. Hindi po tayo laban sa missionary electrification. Lahat ng ito ay may mabuting layunin. Ngunit, bakit halos lahat ng social policy cost ng gobyerno ay ipinapasa sa electric bill ng ordinaryong Pilipino? Hindi niya alam ito. Pinapasa sa bill niya na hindi niya alam. Kung nais ng Estado na pondohan ang renewable transmission, ang renewable energy, gawin po ito sa pambansang budget. Kung nais nating suportahan ang vulnerable sectors, gawin po ito through the General Appropriations Act. Dahil doon po may debate, may transparency, may accountability. Hindi ito unti-unting ikinakarga sa buwan ng bill ng mamamayan at hindi pa niya alam nga ito. At Mr. Speaker, walang mas malinaw na halimbawa ng kawalan ng katarungan kaysa sa systems laws at VAT sa systems laws. Pinagbabayad na nga ang consumer sa kuryenteng hindi niya nagamit. Systems loss nga eh. Nawala nga sa systems, hindi niya nagamit. Binubuwisan pa siya rito. Nagbabayad ka para sa pagkawala. Pagkatapos, papatawag ka pa ng VAT sa pagkawala. Paano po ito naging patas, Mr. Speaker? Paano naging makatarungan na buwisan ang isang bagay na hindi naman nakonsumo ng mamamayan? At kahapon mismo sa lead hearing, maliwanag na walang matinding pagtutol mula sa Department of Finance, Department of Energy at Energy Regulatory Commission sa posibilidad ng pagtanggal ng VAT sa systems laws at iba pang katulad na charges. Ibig sabihin, hindi imposibleng baguhin ito. The stage has been set, Mr. Speaker. I filed House Bill 8415 removing VAT on systems laws. House Resolution 965 calling for an inquiry in aid of legislation about these pass-through charges. Ang kulang na lamang ay political will. Mr. Speaker, ang taong bayan ay naghihintay. Umaasa sila na gagawin natin ang tama. Hindi po tayo inihalal upang protektahan lamang ang sistema. Inihalal tayo upang itama ang sistemang hindi na patas. At ngayon, hinahamon tayo ng panahon ng kasaysayan na gawin mismo iyon. Panahon na upang rebisahin, bawasan at alisin ang mga singil na hindi na makatarungan. panahon na upang ibalik ang prinsipyo na ang gobyerno ay dapat nagsisilbi sa tao, hindi nagpapabigat sa kanya. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang araw po sa lahat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Arthur C. Yap to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other members who wish to avail of the privilege hour, I move to close the privilege hour.
Again, is there any objection? Hearing none, the privilege hour is closed.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
Session suspended. Session will now resume. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, for the information of the body, Committee Report number 261 submitted by the Committee on Justice on House Resolution number 989 entitled Resolution Setting Forth the Articles of Impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte is now included in the calendar of business. Mr. Speaker, I move to direct the Secretary General to immediately furnish the members electronic copies of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989, including its annexes through their respective registered email addresses, post electronic copies in downloadable form of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989, including its annexes in the House website, and distribute to the members printed copies of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. The Secretary General is so directed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn session until Monday, May 11. Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my previous motion. Motion to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session will now resume. Majority Leader. Session suspended. nakakanto. Araw-araw, di ba? Next week, araw-araw. Campaign na eh. Mga toda, barangay leader, PWD, hinahakot ko lahat dito. Ah. Meron. At saka bago pumunta rito, pupunta muna ng City Hall ng Manila. So umaga sila ron. Di ba ati doon? Partner ko si Chi. Ano ko sila ron sa Manila, tapos ulit sa Chief. Habang dito naman. Yes. Nagpupunta. Nagpupunta. May tour guide na nag-ikot sa kanila. Dagdag ng konti. Pagbalik mo na rin siya. Yun. Ibang experience. Siyempre. Session is now resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have been informed by the Secretary General that as earlier directed by the House, the following have been accomplished. Number one, furnishing the members with electronic copies of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989, including its annexes, through the respective registered email addresses. Number two, posting of electronic copies in downloadable form of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989, including its annexes in the House website. And number three, distribution of the printed copies of Committee Report number 261 containing House Resolution number 989.
The manifestation of the Majority Leader is noted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to move to adjourn session until Monday, May 11 at 3 p.m.
Is there any objection? The chair is none. Session is adjourned until May 11 at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Thank you,